Hello, today we're going to be talking about independent and dependent events. Now, two events are independent of each other if one event does not affect the other. So my example here is the probability of flipping a fair coin twice and getting heads twice. So what that means is if we wanted to figure out the probability of that happening, I'd have to flip the first coin and I have a 1 out of 2 chance of getting a heads. Now, just because I flipped that heads does not affect the outcome of the next event, so it is independent of the first. That also has the probability of 1 out of 2 for my next one, to get a heads out of one coin flip. And then to calculate that, I would simply multiply 1/2 times 1/2 to get 1/4. If I were to look at this, I could either have a heads or a tails on my first flip, and a heads or a tails on my second flip. So I could either end up with 2 heads, a heads then tails, a tails then a heads, or a tails then a tails. So 1 out of 4 times will this happen. And you can see, because of this shape, why multiplication would be required here. So the Venn diagram for this, remember a Venn diagram is going to be a rectangular shape with circles inside to represent probabilities. So the probability of flipping a fair coin twice and getting heads, so I have the event A has to occur, and then independent of that event, B has to occur. And it's this space right here, the probability of A and B both occurring. This symbol means the intersection of these, where both events occur. Okay, and then we calculate that by finding the probability that A occurs. In the example above, it was 1 out of 2, times the probability that event B occurs. That's multiplication there. And that's how we do that. Two events are dependent if one event does affect the other. So my example here is the probability that you would draw 2 aces from a deck of cards without any replacement of that first ace. So in a standard deck of cards, there are 4 aces out of 52 cards. But once you pull an ace from that deck, it affects the next probability, because now there are only 3 aces to choose out of 51 cards. And we would still multiply these together. But I can do some simplification first. The 4 and the 52 becomes 1/13. The 3 and the 51 becomes 1/17. And 13 times 17 equals 221. Probability of that happening is 1 out of every 221 tries. So the Venn diagram for this, so I have the probability that event A occurs right here. But for event B to occur, A has to occur first. So B is lodged entirely within event A. And so this is event B given event A already occurred. And so that's what the Venn diagram looks like. And so our calculation, well, we want to find the probability that A occurs, then multiply it by the probability that B will happen given that A already happened. And we're done.